to another episode of Federico Wants Watches. Of course, we have Tim Masso today, our Chief Horological Officer. I was supposed to be on the show last night, but I came down with a little bit of a head cold, so I figured we'd make it up to all our viewers and we'd do a tag team shorter episode today. What do you think?
I think so. We've gone from F16 to F14. Let's rock that.
So today we wanted to talk about some great Baselworld releases that you may have missed, because everybody pays attention to Tudor, Rolex, Breitling, Patek. So we want to talk about some things that may have flown under the radar and that are most likely under the $5,000 price point.
Oh yeah,
most of them.
Well under.
I mean, because I know pricing's not official yet for a lot of these pieces, but they're definitely going to be.
We can make educated guesses.
Exactly.
And we're giving ourselves plenty of wiggle room there.
So the first kind of brand that we should talk about, and it's a brand that I own, and it's a brand that's taken a little bit of a beating in the current market, and that is Eterna.
Okay.
The originators of ETA, right, Tim?
Yeah, the guys who actually spun it off as a movement division around like 1928.
Exactly.
That's kind of like creating the monster. You've given birth to a monster, Eterna.
Well, the first one that came out, which I think is interesting, but doesn't blow my mind away, is the Kontiki Bronze manufacturer. So an in-house movement in a bronze case diver, which is nothing seriously new, right? Because Tudor's made a black bay in bronze.
But it's been done with sensitivity. I think the combination of the bronze with the granular gray dial is a different look.
The dial's the star in this watch for me. I think it's beautiful.
It has a remarkable pebbly quality to it. You've seen granular dials before, but this is not a fine texture. This is a big, large, irregular, almost, it looks like hammered gold. That's what it looks like.
It does. Or it even looks like hammered green gold, kind of that texture. And, Eterna is one of those brands that I think we discussed need to kind of make a move, right?
Yeah.
Because they're just getting lost.
I mean, like you said, they started as essentially the parent of ETA. They've been known as a movement manufacturer in their own right for a long time. But the problem, like Zenith, when you're a movement manufacturer, first and foremost, you don't have a public face. You're searching for that classical image.
Well, in fact, when I think Rolex, I think Submariner. When I think Patek Philippe, I think Calatrava, you might arguably say Nautilus.
Yeah, but it's one of the two.
When I think Eterna,
ball bearings?
I think, what is it, right?
Exactly.
But it's their in-house manufacturer movement, which is cool, so you're not getting a standard ETA. And I think this is a very mass market watch. People love divers. Bronze is hot right now.
It's playing to a couple of things that I think are hot. Bronze, obviously not a new trend. I did predict a few months back that gray dials were on their way in, and we've seen this from Rolex to Oris and now to Eterna.
Fantastic. And actually, my real favorite from Eterna.
Okay.
One which
the sequel.
There's no real information on, because you couldn't really find it. The only places it showed up is on their Instagram account, which, by the way, guys, follow us on Instagram. That's Watch You Want, link in the description below. But everybody knows I'm a sucker for a moon phase, and I love celestial complications, as we've talked about.
Okay.
Eterna came out with the 1948 manufacturer moon phase. I'm going to pop a picture into the video, and it's a moon phase in their case line, their model line. It's called the Grange.
Yes.
So it's got these beautiful lugs, but what makes it really special is this dial, with this midnight blue dial with the constellations, which I think is very artfully done, and in a price point which is probably going to be pretty low considering the treatment they gave to the piece.
It's a combination of things I like. You've got the silvery sheen of the case. You've got those classic, almost, it's kind of like a dovetail of two things, of a cowhorn style lug and of a teardrop style lug, but it's a great vintage look, late 40s, early 50s. You've got that with the dark, almost navy blue of the dial, very dark blue,
beautiful.
The beautiful constellation composition, a really handsome watch that gives you a lot of the romance of a celestial watch, but without the price.
Absolutely, and actually, we arguably see some very expensive pieces here at Watch You Want.
Sure.
I mean, in front of us, we've got this beautiful limited edition Portuguese Perpetual for Cellini with a moon phase. Yep. And, talking about expensive watches, do you think this Eterna, now we've only seen one picture, because only one picture is available, does it look much more expensive than what you think the price is going to be? I mean, what do you think?
Well, I can guess what the price is going to be. What I can't really guess is how this one's going to come across in the flesh, because we've seen one It's not like we've seen one press release or one story. We've seen one photo on their Instagram.
But it blew me away. I really fell in love with it.
I have to see this one in person before I'm going to buy into the concept, because going for the look of a $50,000 watch in the package that might be, what, like a $2,500 watch at most?
Oh, yeah, it might be a little, yeah, it's arguable. It depends what type of work was done on the dial. Is it enamel? Is it handmade?
Even if it's a lacquer, that would be beautiful. But this is the kind of thing that could look great or go sour fast. And I think the proof is going to be in the metal, seeing it in person.
I agree with you 100% on that one. And actually, before our viewers get mad at us, we should probably wristwatch check, right?
Absolutely.
So what are you rocking today, Tim?
Well, I've been wearing this one for a little while just because I enjoy it and because it's a fun watch. This was one of my original dream watches. Cheshire LeCoultre Amvox 2 limited edition titanium chronograph, pusherless. You can see you just activate the watch by pressing down on the case.
Fantastic.
Fun motorsports themed watch, especially if you guys who are into vintage autos.
Did you see, by the way, we just got an Amvox 1 in stock.
Ah, the alarm. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but believe me, I'm familiar with the family and I love them all.
It reminded me of you because it's got a very similar dial, you know.
What was it? The R alarm? Was it the 44 with the green hobnail?
No, it was not. It was the standard. I think it was black on gray.
That one was the very first hint that JLC was thinking of doing a Polaris reedition, by the way.
Yeah, that's actually a good call with that. I didn't put two and two together. Well, you guys, I'm wearing something less interesting, but something still very beloved to me. It is my Omega Seamaster 300 pre-ceramic with the Bond wave dial. It's becoming a little bit of a vintage classic, not quite vintage yet, and I think it's the most comfortable bracelet on the market, along with an Oyster, but I'm arguably going to say I like it better than an Oyster. Not in style, but in feel.
I'll also say this, that watch, and I'm getting a little bit off topic, but I think it's worth mentioning, we're starting to see like the modern equivalent of the old style patina and tropical dials with these Bond Seamaster dials aging into sort of a slate gray blue.
It's not quite aged yet, but the second hand is starting to fade just a little bit.
The second hands are turning, the lume plots are beginning to age, you're starting to see a little bit of fade on those wave blue dials. We're starting to see those first Bond watches turn into like the modern day tropicals.
And is there anything more, because you can buy a tropical Rolex, but is there anything that feels better than aging your own watch? I mean, seeing something you bought originally turn with patina.
Yeah, I mean, it's like raising a dog from a pup. It's like you started with this thing fresh-faced and new, and then there you are 15 years later, and it's the same watch, and it's aged with you. I mean, just as many stories as you've got, as many turns as you've had in your life.
Scratches, and, you don't look as good as you used to.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think we should probably move on. There's a brand that we talked about that, I'm going to be honest, guys, I didn't have a huge, deep appreciation for. But me and Tim have talked about it even on our first ever show when I came on as a guest. You mentioned it to me, and I'm starting to really change my tune on this. Okay. And what is this brand?
This is Oris.
Well, no, this is Rado, actually.
We're doing Rado, man?
No, we're doing Oris next, but we're talking Rado.
I don't want to trip over you, but I got Oris and Rado loaded in the cannon.
Oh, well, let's start with Rado.
Fire away.
Let's start with
Rado.
Well, Rado was more your relationship because you know Rado way better than I do, and I'm starting to appreciate it because of you. But the new Captain Cook, for example.
I appreciate Fed passing the baton there. Rado, I'm glad I own this one because the new Captain Cook, two sizes, 37 millimeters and 45. Both of them are great. This is a watch that I've often said is a great underrated vintage buy. The 1962 to 1968 Captain Cook Mark I and Mark II.
What can they be
It's coming back. I mean, they can be had for under $1,500, sometimes under $1,000. Because the brand hasn't been hyped to death. When was the last time you saw it, like, absolutely inflated to the point of bursting on a blog?
Only in Pakistan.
Yeah, exactly. Where Rado, and I should say well-regarded in the East, in the Middle East, and the Far East, that's where a lot of the best vintage examples come from these days.
And then I guess moving on, and Tim, you spoiled the surprise.
I'm sorry.
We're going Oris, right? So the first one I want to talk about, it's a brand I do like. I think there's great bang for the buck. Of course, there's the new green-dialed Oris 65. Oris 65, a huge hit, the Diver 65. What do you think of this?
Well, I love green watches, so I'm sold. The fact that the price is reasonable, the watch can be had in a couple of different configurations on different straps. I think the fact that it's a green dial works well with the Diver concept. It's sort of an aquatic green, a sea green.
Yeah,
I think there are some colors that maybe need to be reserved to the the likes of Ulysse Nardin, if you want to go wacky colors, maybe Omega. I think these colors that they've chosen over the years for the 65, blue, green, black, are perfectly matched to the watch, and green is a great installment.
Absolutely. And actually, moving along from the 65, we have the new Chron Oris, which they haven't made, I believe you told me earlier, since 2005,
yeah,
correct?
The Chron Oris chronograph came out in 2005. It was a tribute to a watch made in the early 1970s, and this sort of continues that series, which was really, I think you could say, Oris's first foray into vintage style.
Yeah, it is. And actually, something that I find extremely interesting is the big stepchild in vintage watch collection, at least in watch collecting, at least in my opinion, is this lugless 1970s, almost UFO elongated case shape, which whenever there's a vintage watch in that kind of case shape, you can usually pick it up for a steal. They're not really loved.
Yeah, we were talking the legacy of the Rado Diastar. There you go.
And now, in these vintage reissues, they're starting to bring that design back, which shows a little appreciation.
We'll see if they embrace it wholeheartedly. It's still considered to be a funky sort of, I would say, cult watch look, but I do like the fact that it's back in the Chron Oris, and I do like the fact that they're not selling this one explicitly as a vintage reissue. It's a whole line.
It is. I think they've got a chronograph, they've got a GMT, they've got a time only. Is there an alarm, or was there talk of an alarm?
Historically, there was an alarm. I don't know if there's an alarm just yet in the Oris catalog, but historically, there were alarms.
All right.
I would also say this, historically, there were Rado Diastar alarms. I don't recall there being a Oris Chron Oris alarm.
But we're going to have to do a little Googling.
Yeah.
It might not be an alarm, it just might be an internal rotating bezel.
I believe that's what it is.
Yeah, most likely.
I'll also say this, and this is one of my picks from the Oris lineup this year. I really love the new DayDate Diver.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I mean, arguable, do you need a DayDate on a diver? But that's not the point, right?
It's the Staghorn Restoration limited edition. They're making 2,000 pieces. You can get it on a strap or a bracelet. One of the few $2,000 watches that comes with a really nice commemorative boxed set. It's a cause near and dear to my heart. We're in South Florida. It's coral restoration. It's a foundation based out of Florida. Mm-hmm. Proceeds from the watch benefit that 2,000 pieces. It has a nice combination of black, steel, blue, and coral orange tones on the dial. And while a DayDate may not be the most practical dive combination, it is a diver, and all the time you spend desk diving, you'll be happy you've got it for writing emails.
And one thing I like about Oris this year at Baselworld is they went upscale last year. The new 8-day power reserves, I mean, watches above $5,000, which were great value, but it's tough for some customers to get over that price hump when it's coming to an Oris.
Yeah.
This year, they stuck to their core clientele, and most of these watches are under $3, even under $2. So I think it's a great move.
Yeah, the Staghorn Diver actually is nice because you're getting a true ISO 6425 diver. Mm-hmm. You're getting it on a bracelet. It's a limited edition. You're getting a DayDate automatic, and the whole thing on the bracelet is $2,200.
Perfect. And actually, those are the 3 brands we wanted to talk about. But I think now looking at this list in front of me on my laptop, these are all brands, maybe with the exception of Oris, because Oris was already picking up a little strength, but
sure.
Eterna and Rado, it was definitely time for a wake-up call for those two. It's either, kill or be killed at this point. And I think there's some pretty strong offerings here.
I think so too, and I also think that since we are talking about value and we are talking about getting a lot for your money, I don't think, and I'm going to venture into the fringe region of heresy here, but
let's hear this.
Okay, the TTouch Expert Solar 2. This is an interesting watch that's worth your attention because this is a watch, it retails for $1,200. You could probably pick it up around $1,000, but you're getting about 20 functions in a 45mm titanium case with a blue or a green ceramic bezel. It's got everything. It's got an alarm. It's got a chronograph. It's got a barometer. It's got an altimeter. It's got a compass. Without going into the realm of the smartwatch and the disposable watch, Tissot has built a product that has a lot of smart features. Like, I would much rather have countdown alarms, dual time functions, backlights, even the compass is fun, than have something that counts my steps and takes my pulse.
Fair enough, but I'm gonna play devil's advocate for a second. I like that watch, I really do.
Sure.
I can't believe you just said TTouch. That was unexpected to me.
Fair enough.
But why go with a Tissot TTouch when you can get a pretty high-end G-Shock, which I argue is not disposable. I'm talking the higher-end G-Shocks.
Well, we've seen like nearly $8,000 G-Shocks at this Basel, so be careful what you wish for.
Well, I'm talking like the $600-700 G-Shocks,
Okay.
because those $8,000 pieces, those are just purely boutique to me. Like no one's buying those.
Yeah, we're well into the realm of like a G-Shock that costs more than a used sub, so
That's kind of
Fed's going to
nuts.
constrain himself to sub 5,000.
Yeah, so how does it compare to a $700 G-Shock?
Well, I would say a couple of things. First of all, you're not talking a huge price delta. If you assume you can get the TTouch Solar for like $1,000, then you have to ask, do you like the interface? Because the way the TTouch works is very distinctive. First, it is solar powered, so it is going to recharge itself. It's not like these crazy Breitling B50 and B55 things that you have to plug in.
Yeah.
So it's getting that functionality, and it's got a tremendous range of capabilities that are activated, by an interface that you essentially touch. You just touch it's kind of like my Amvox.
It's a conducive sapphire crystal,
Yeah,
right?
you push the crown, and then you press literally the name of the function on the dial that you want to actuate. So I find that the interface and the aesthetic are what will set the TTouch apart from a high-end G-Shock.
Absolutely, and you nailed it with the aesthetic, because the T-Touch can still be worn in an office environment, where a G-Shock's always going to be mostly rubber and much bigger and rugged.
I mean, there's a reason they have like a frogman line. It's not, granted, most of the frogmen are probably worn on construction sites or in offices, but it's not a discreet watch, whereas the T-Touch has a little bit more versatility to it.
Absolutely, and I can agree with that. And actually, on that note, guys, we want to thank you, and I do apologize for missing yesterday's show. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and check out our Instagram, link in the description below, where we're running we're sticking away from Baselworld on our Instagram, because everybody's doing Baselworld. We're just showcasing some really cool watches that come across our desks.
Yeah, I've got an FP Journe Line Sport Indy right here. We've got cool watches in-house. Who needs Basel?
And on that note, thank you so much for watching another episode of Federico Talks Watches, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care.